The Wishbroker by Nikolai Cherbak. Part 1. Twilight. To someone sitting safely in front of their hearth, there's only one kind of frost. That which they have sheltered themselves away from. They are surrounded by the heat of the fire and the song sung by the wet firewood. First, there's a sizzle, that of the melting snow as it soars out of the hearth as steam, mingling together with smoke. Then, the water hidden away between the rings boils, forming cracks which cut through the log. The wood bursts open with a loud snap as the one singular solid piece invites the fire into the newly opened crevices. Tiny short-lived sparks carry the invitations as far as their heat allows before becoming little more than ash with a purpose. This, naturally, is the loudest portion of the melody, after which all sounds seem to bleed together until another log is thrown in, thus repeating the chorus. The colder it gets, the more of those melodies overlap each other. Cacophonous choir shields the encroaching invasion of cold with nothing but their voice and smoke, a capacity which many censer-carrying priests of Kirchenwald are rightfully jealous of. Their inability to isolate themselves from the hazards of the world with prayer and sanctified incense alone could speak poorly of their devotion. Or worse yet, the capacity of the ones they worship. Both of those thoughts, however, are like a window bursting open on that cold and snowy night, to be shut as soon as it is possible, lest they invite a slow and certain death. Elias jumped to his feet, startled by the slam of the now open window, its shutters fluttering like a moth intent on reaching a lamp or letting in cold wind and snow. His knees were numbed by inertia, bending under each step low enough to cause him to stumble. The overturned kitchen table, now dusted with a thin layer of fresh snow, helped save him from yet another fall this evening. With a push of the crossstaff he held in his good hand, he pushed the window close and latched it shut. Outside, he could still hear the cawing of crows over the howling wind. The carrion birds blessed by the wise crone must have been hungrier than they were wholly that night. A sentiment that Elias shared, having both eaten little and killed a man earlier today. Was the Red Omen out tonight? He asked himself, trying to remember seeing the divine red planet ruling over the sky last he was outside. Not able to recall, he reached down to a belt-tied satchel of salt. Recognizing possible forewarnings, taking a leap of faith. A pious man can always count on divine assistance. To be warned of dangers lurking in the dark. Yes, of course. May the maiden keep you like you have kept me. The damaged priestly staff served as a makeshift crutch as Talias hobbled back towards the hearth. Once, it was a simple navigational tool, with 3 crosspieces moving along the central hilt, each fashioned with a carved invocation to one of the 7, each purposed to track the movements of celestial bodies. It was little more than a cane now. With the gold-tipped arm of Father Son snapped off, it could not be more than a cane. His march was slow, steady, and determined in spite of the pain radiating from his arm and numb legs. In his muffled prayers, he likened the feeling to a ritual, one of abjuring the dangers ahead with salt and faith alone. End of part 1. Part 2. Dusk. To someone trudging outside on a night like this, there is another kind of frost. One that covers all that remains of your world in a thick white blanket and drives needles into your shaking bones. This kind is likewise characterized by its song. It is simpler in structure with little variation. The constant whistle of the wind that picks up and drowns everything around it with an incessant howling. It carries the snow and the cold, both vengeful ghosts with no respect for the physical world that simply pass through the layers of furs and cloth on your back and into the skin and flesh. At the best of times, it blows from behind, pushing you further to wherever you might be heading. Forced to comply and keep moving, rushed by the cold hand on your back. At this best of times, beyond the surface thoughts are so focused on preserving yourself, a hope clings on. A hope that beyond your sight, which reaches little further than your outstretched arm, you are not being led astray by the slave driver at your back. This song of the primordial giants who hide in the mountaintops changes only when the singers take a breath. And when they do, the world goes quiet. Very few silences compare to that of a winter night. One such silence is the heavy, oppressive silence of an aftermath of a violent argument, where the mistakes made and the words both spoken and unspoken hang heavy. But that was heard before, not now. If you were to stand still and hold your breath while every strand of muscle wished to shiver for warmth, you could likely hear what only the stars and the sky do. The silence of complete isolation, provided Providence is on your side. When that silence was to be broken again by a return of breath into your lungs, you would again hear the echoing rhythm, the beat of the drum, your feet against the crunching snow. The knowledge that this sound carries further than normal is only offset by the comfort that any other sound, such as that of stalking wolves, would too. End of part 2. Exploring Fantastika is a bi-weekly audio narrative project by a hack and a fraud who just so happens to own a microphone and a keyboard. The Wishbroker, part 1, 2, 3, and 4 were written and produced by Armchairbag, with music by Shrama.